On our wedding night, my husband was impotent, yet he blamed me for being unable to bear him a son. I had hoped to be a good wife, to share a respectful and harmonious life with him. But he slept with my cousin behind my back, scheming to steal my dowry. I heard there's a kind of medicine that can help a man with such problems. Since he wanted to be a real man, I made sure he took it every single day. Xie Tang's eyes turned red with panic. Shubai, let me explain. I was just nervous. I swear I'm fine. I really can do it. I sighed and tried to comfort him. There's no need to worry. It's already late. Let's just wash up and get some rest. Xie Tang wiped the sweat off his forehead and slunk out of the room, humiliated. I lay on the bed, staring at the bright red wedding canopy, my heart in turmoil. He couldn't perform on our wedding night. How would the days ahead be any better? Truthfully, I had never wanted to marry him. There were no feelings between us. But Xie Tang's father had once saved my father's life on the battlefield. To repay the debt, my father insisted on the marriage and arranged our engagement when I was a child. Father said Xie Tang was the only son in his family, and that once I married in, I should do my best to carry on their family line. But if Xie Tang can't even consummate the marriage, how is he supposed to carry on any lineage? That night, we slept apart in silence. The next morning, after Xie Tang left for court, I suddenly heard the cry of a baby outside the door. My personal maid Bai Tao came rushing in, breathless, with a matronly woman beside her. Madam, I found a baby boy at the back gate. Look at his little face. It's already turned purple from the cold. If we don't help him soon, he won't survive. I've always loved children, and thinking I might never have one of my own, I couldn't help but feel a soft spot for the little thing. Find a reliable physician and a wet nurse with plenty of milk, I ordered. Yes, madam, the matron answered and hurried out the door. I brought the baby inside to examine him. While unwrapping his swaddling, I found a beautifully carved jade pendant tucked in the cloth. That night, Xie Tang didn't return home. Bai Tao asked if I wanted to send someone to look for him, but I figured he just married me and already spent the night elsewhere without even notifying me. Clearly, I didn't matter to him. My heart turned colder. I told Bai Tao to move Xie Tang's bedding to the study. The next morning, someone reported that the young master had returned, and he brought a baby boy with him. My heart skipped a beat. How could it be that both of us picked up a baby? Xie Tang handed the child in his arms to me. I looked at him. Husband, you didn't come home last night. Where did this baby come from? Xie Tang avoided my gaze. I found him. Take good care of him. Found him, I said. I picked up a baby yesterday too. What? Xie Tang shot to his feet in shock. After hearing the whole story, he seemed irritated. How could you bring some random bastard child into our house? I stared at him in disbelief. A bastard? And what about the one you brought? He's not a bastard too? Or is he actually your own child? Xie Tang choked. No, of course not. Seeing my displeased expression, he compromised. How about this? The baby you brought can be raised by the wet nurse. The one I brought, you raise him yourself. Sound fair? I nodded for now. As soon as he left, I secretly sent someone to investigate where he had been the night before. Before the wedding, my mother had given me a few loyal bodyguards. They served as guards on the surface, but in reality, they were trained spies. It didn't take long before one of them reported back. Xie Tang had gone to the outskirts of the city to meet a woman. That woman was none other than my cousin Su Xianglan, the same cousin who had been cast aside by her wealthy merchant husband. Xie Tang and I had known each other since we were kids. Su Xianglan had met him during one of her visits to our home. Later, when Xie Tang became an official, known for his clean reputation, Su Xianglan apparently set her sights on him. I figured their affair didn't start yesterday or the day before. If he liked her, he should have just married her. If he had been honest about it, my father would never have forced him to marry me. But now he married me while keeping tangled up with my cousin. Wasn't that a slap in the face, to both me and my father? I slowly clenched my fists. Just then, Bai Tao leaned in and whispered, "My lady, someone from the palace has come. They asked to see you at the back gate. I raised an eyebrow. Someone from the palace. At this hour? I hurried to the back gate and saw an old maid in a hood standing in the shadows. As soon as she saw me, she grabbed my arm. My lady, that baby you picked up, he's the princess's child. My mind went blank with a loud buzz. When I'd examined the baby earlier, I found a jade pendant carved with cloud patterns. Turns out it had the name of Princess Yunshang on it. Granny, what's going on? I asked. She sighed and whispered, the princess and the marquis haven't gotten along for years. They sleep in separate quarters. The marquis keeps over 10 concubines outside. The princess? She keeps 3 or 4 pretty boy lovers. This child was born from the princess and her most handsome lover. He was supposed to be killed at birth, but she couldn't bear it. So she told me to leave him at your back gate before dawn. The princess trusts you. She asks you to care for the child and keep him safe. Clutching my wildly beating heart, I nodded, stunned. Tell her not to worry. I'll take good care of him. The maid gave a few more instructions, then hurried away. I stood there in the cold wind, my head spinning. Thank heavens I didn't follow Xie Tang's advice to leave the child with the wet nurse. Bai Tao asked me, my lady, are you all right? I calmed myself. Princess Yunshang has always been proud and aloof. So many noble ladies try to get close to her and fail. But now, by sheer coincidence, I've ended up on the same boat as the princess. Bai Tao looked worried. Aren't you afraid she'll send someone to? She drew her hand across her neck. I shook my head. No. I've always kept a low profile and guarded my words. The princess gave me the child because she trusts me. If she wanted to silence anyone, she wouldn't have left the child alive. She'd have quietly ended it right away. Bai Tao nodded. Then what do you plan to do, my lady? My eyes glinted in the dark. The 2 children were about the same age. Sometimes even I could barely tell them apart. I gave the baby Xie Tang brought to the wet nurse and kept the princess's child under my personal care. After that, I found out where my cousin was staying and had people spread rumors. Neighbors quickly learned that Su Xianglan had been thrown out by her husband, and instead of returning home to her parents, she came to the capital to seduce her cousin's husband. Eventually, the gossip drove her mad. She came crying to my house, sobbing at my doorstep. I brought her inside and held back my anger. Cousin, you've returned. Have you seen your parents yet? She shook her head, dabbing her tears with a handkerchief. Not yet. I have such a pitiful life. I don't want to upset them. I sneered inside. So, what are your plans now that you're in the capital? She suddenly dropped to her knees. Shu Bai, please take me in. You've always been kind and well-mannered. We grew up together, didn't we? We're like sisters. I was abandoned. I have no face left to go home. Please don't leave me out in the cold. I gave her a small smile. You grew up in Jizhou. You only visited the capital every few years, and each time you clung to me, demanding gifts. I wouldn't exactly call that sisterly affection. Now that I'm married and you've been cast off by your husband, living under my roof is bad for both our reputations. For your own sake, it's best that you return to Jizhou. Su Xianglan's expression darkened. So you really won't show me any pity, Shu Bai? Why should I? I said. Your parents are still alive. What need is there for my pity? Or is it someone else's pity you're really hoping for? My words hit a nerve. Su Xianglan's face twisted. So, you do know. I narrowed my eyes at her. Know what exactly? Yes, she declared. Xie Tang and I have long since pledged ourselves to one another. Our love was sealed from the start. I laughed. Su Xianglan, have you no shame? You're a discarded wife. How do you even have the nerve to say such things? Why shouldn't I? She sneered. You mock me for being thrown out, but who's to say Xie Tang won't cast you out one day? Want to bet on it? I raised an eyebrow and stared her down. Let's set our feelings aside for a moment. My father is a 4th-rank official in court, and my mother once donated 30 million taels of gold to the imperial treasury when it was nearly empty. Xie Tang wouldn't dare divorce me. Su Xianglan trembled with fury. Your family just has some filthy money. I smiled. Isn't that exactly what you're after? Our filthy money? Your mother's a merchant. Nothing but scum in the eyes of the gentry, she spat. And yet, your husband, also from a merchant family, threw you away. Seems even lowly traders look down on your kind. That's enough, a cold voice snapped from the doorway. Su Xianglan's eyes gleamed as she burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. Xie Tang rushed over to support her, glaring at me with fury. Will you stop already? Xianglan's crying her heart out, and you're still bullying her. I sipped my tea calmly. Is the husband feeling protective now? Xie Tang pressed his lips together. I just think cousin Xianglan is our guest, and you, as the mistress of the household, should treat her with respect. I slammed my palm down on the armrest. Oh, now you remember I'm the mistress of the house? Xie Tang puffed up with bravado. I am the master of this household. I gave a cold laugh. Then let's just lay it out, shall we? You want to marry my cousin, don't you? So, what if I do? He snapped. Xianglan is gentle, kind, delicate as water. Only with her do I feel like a real man. A real man? I scoffed. That's rich. Su Xianglan gave Xie Tang a grateful look, then shot me a smug, provocative one. I gave a composed smile. Not gonna happen. Why not? She shrieked. I said, because Xie Tang swore in front of my father. He vowed not to take any concubines for 3 years. Did you forget that, Xie Tang? His face went pale. He had made that oath at our family shrine. If he broke it, he vowed to die a miserable death. The memory clearly still haunted him. I curved my lips into a smile. Looks like you'll have to wait outside the gates for 3 years, cousin. If he still remembers you by then, you can come crawling back to be a concubine. I put extra weight on that last word. Su Xianglan was so furious, she could barely breathe. At last, I understood why Xie Tang was impotent with me but fine with her. He was afraid of me. As Su Xianglan stormed off, she hissed. Xie Tang and I, we are true love. Perfect. I'll make sure that true love ends up slapping you across the face. Soon after, I sent someone to Jizhou to find Su Xianglan's younger half-sister. She was born of a concubine and had always clashed with the legitimate Su Xianglan. The two were like fire and water. The younger sister, Su Qianqian, was soft, delicate, and quite well known for her beauty in Jizhou. Compared to her, Su Xianglan was a pale imitation. Su Qianqian fancied herself pretty enough to marry into a noble family, but because of her low status, she was stuck in limbo. Never good enough for the high, too proud for the low. I called Xie Tang home and cooked a few small dishes. Acting the understanding wife, I said, you haven't come home these past few days, and rumors are spreading. As your wife, I've failed to be gracious. Tonight, let a beauty serve you. That night, Su Qianqian was sent to Xie Tang's room. She was as delicate as a lily in the rain, charming and full of innocence. I gave her a special aphrodisiac, one designed to make a man crave more and more. Su Qianqian used it with ease. The formula was one the princess had commissioned for her male consorts. She told me the effects were amazing, but the more you used it, the more it drained a man's vitality. More and more drained? I thought. Perfect. The next day, Su Qianqian came to greet me, kneeling in gratitude. From now on, I will follow your lead in everything, she said. As an illegitimate daughter, her father never favored her. The best future she could hope for was marrying a minor scholar back in Jizhou. She never even dreamed of marrying an official from the capital like Xie Tang. Even as a concubine, she was already overjoyed. I personally helped her to her feet. We have the same goal. You know what to do. A flash of malice flickered across her young face. I'll never let Su Xianglan get the upper hand. Sure enough, she had Xie Tang wrapped around her finger in no time. She gave him the drug every night. 3 months passed, and Xie Tang hadn't even looked in Su Xianglan's direction. Gossip spread. People said she'd been tossed aside by a government official, not even worth a dirty rag. Enraged, Su Xianglan stormed to my house, shouting she would throw herself down our steps to die. Xie Tang panicked. He came rushing out of Su Qianqian's room, still reeking of her perfume. Xianglan, what are you doing?
Su Xianglan screamed.
You bastard. How could you sleep with my sister? You said you only loved me. The neighbors pointed and whispered. Xia Tang's face burned bright red. You're talking nonsense. He dragged her inside. She cried, raged, threatened to hang herself, making a complete scene. Eventually, Xia Tang caved. Look, I haven't taken anyone new. Qianqian has no title, no status. She's just a serving girl. After 3 years, I will marry you. I won't take anyone else, I swear. Su Xianglan wiped her tears and clung to him, kissing him in front of me. I toyed with a silk handkerchief in my fingers, smiling calmly. I'm afraid that won't be possible.
Su Xianglan snapped.
This is the Xia household. I ignored her and looked at Xia Tang. Qianqian is pregnant. As the mistress of the house, I cannot deny her entry. You may have sworn a blood oath not to take concubines, but this is an exception. She carries your child. I'll grant her the title of a proper concubine. The moment he heard she was pregnant, Xia Tang's face lit up. Truly? When it comes to children, would I lie? He did the math in his head. Yes. I'm going to be a father. I'm a father again. Again? I thought. What a telling word. In the end, Su Xianglan was left with nothing, like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Her face turned an even darker shade of green. You've all ganged up to bully a poor, helpless woman like me. Su Xianglan screamed and, in a fit of rage, turned and slammed her head into a pillar. Blood splattered across the corridor. I gasped. Cousin, what was the point of that? Then I dramatically rolled my eyes back and fainted. Bai Tao was terrified, screaming at the top of her lungs. My lady, what's wrong? Someone fetch the physician. The red gemstone on my forehead ribbon made my complexion look especially radiant, hardly the look of someone truly ill. Bai Tao knelt at my feet, sulking. My lady, you should have at least warned me you were going to fake a faint. You scared me half to death. I chuckled, hugging my hand warmer. If I hadn't fainted, I'd still be stuck taking care of Su Xianglan. Why would I bother with that?
Bai Tao húp phét.
The physician said her injuries are serious. The master is very worried about her. I remained perfectly calm. Go fetch Xia Tang. I have something to say. Bai Tao lifted the curtain and went out. Not long after, Xia Tang walked in. Wife, are you feeling better? I coughed twice.
I'm all right.
Not as badly hurt as cousin, clearly.
Si Tang sighed.
I didn't expect her to be so headstrong. I always thought she was delicate, but she really went and bashed her head like that. Xia Tang was never a brave man. After today's scene, he was clearly shaken. Fighting back the disgust, I placed my hand gently on the back of his and hit where it hurt. Word of what happened today has spread like wildfire. Even the old nurse who went out shopping came back telling Bai Tao that people everywhere are gossiping about you. Xia Tang's face changed.
What?
It spread that fast. If Xia Tang still cared about his career, he ought to kick Su Xianglan out immediately. Husband, I said, aren't you afraid someone might get jealous and submit a report to impeach you?
Si Tang trembled.
He had lost his father young, and his mother had raised him with great difficulty. He had studied hard day and night to get where he was today. He couldn't afford for it all to be ruined. If he had any sense at all, he would realize Su Xianglan couldn't stay. Then, suddenly, Xia Tang squeezed my hand and said coaxingly, Shu Bai, since you were willing to make an exception for Qianqian and let her in as a concubine, why not let Xianglan enter the household too? It was like plunging into the depths of a bitter winter. I stared at him in disbelief. He's gone mad. I couldn't stay tied to this man any longer. The idea of divorce was now screaming in my head. I couldn't contain my fury anymore. Do you not realize that she's a cast-off wife rejected by the royal merchant Wang family? Xia Tang's expression soured. Of course I know. If Wang didn't want her, I wouldn't have had the chance to have a child with her. His words struck like thunder. I was shaken to the core. He had truly lost all shame. Xia Tang stopped pretending. Yes, Shu Bai. The child I brought home. It is mine and Xianglan's. I clutched my chest, waves of nausea rising in me. As the mistress of the house, you should be magnanimous, he said. My palms were covered in cold sweat. We've come this far, he continued. Let the child's mother, your cousin Xianglan, move into the household. After all, you two are relatives. She gave birth to my son. If I don't marry her, wouldn't I be a heartless man? I couldn't take it anymore and bent over, vomiting. Bai Tao rushed up and patted my back, shouting, Someone bring water, now. Xia Tang dismissed the others and personally brought me tea. Shu Bai, please don't be angry. I threw the entire cup of tea right in his face. Get out. Xia Tang wiped his face, eyes dark. Ji Shu Bai, you'll never be as gentle as Xianglan. With that, he stormed off to Su Xianglan's room. I wanted nothing more than to grab a knife and stab Xia Tang clean through. But then I remembered, he believed his biological son was being raised in my chambers. In reality, the boy was with the wet nurse, receiving no special attention. He dressed and ate no better than the servants' children. That thought calmed me down. Bai Tao cried out of sympathy for me. I closed my eyes and composed myself. Go to Jizhou. Bring her parents here. I hadn't planned on involving our elders. I wanted to spare them embarrassment. But their daughter had gotten pregnant by my husband and staged a suicide attempt at my house. The damage was done. There was no face left to save. When Su Xianglan regained consciousness and heard that Xia Tang had fought with me, she was smug and triumphant. She marched into Qianqian's room and cursed her out, hoping to cause a miscarriage. Of course, I wouldn't allow that. No matter how much Xia Tang favored her, she couldn't do as she pleased under my roof. I locked her in the woodshed, where she kept company with the rats. Conveniently, Xia Tang had been reassigned by his superiors to handle an out-of-town assignment and couldn't return home for several days. Su Xianglan screamed herself hoarse, but no one responded. She went 3 full days without food. Meanwhile, Qianqian was taking care of her pregnancy. I rewarded her with blood-nourishing bird's nest every day. She would stand at the woodshed door, eating bird's nest soup where Su Xianglan could see her. When Bai Tao told me this, she laughed so hard she nearly doubled over. I was feeding the fish when I asked her, Did you deliver the letter to the princess?
Bai Tao zip-lit. Yes.
Her maid personally accepted it. Good, I said. These next few days, the young master will probably be full of himself. Let anything rude or arrogant he says be twisted and spread as far as it can go. Yes, ma'am. At last, Su Xianglan's parents arrived at my estate after a long journey. I had them meet Qianqian first. Qianqian, pregnant and glowing from good care, looked radiant. Right then and there, I arranged for a formal betrothal on Xia Tang's behalf. My greedy uncle acted like he was outraged, claiming he would beat Qianqian to death. But once I doubled the bride price, he and my aunt beamed like blooming chrysanthemums and gave their blessing. Just then, Su Xianglan barged in, screaming, I don't agree. Xia Tang only loves me. Before I could even say a word, my uncle stepped forward and slapped her hard across the face, making her lips split and bleed. Shameless creature. I'll beat you to death today. Now it was my turn to put on a show. Uncle, what are you doing? I said, pretending to hold him back. My uncle was so angry his beard was practically crooked. She ran off on her own, betrayed her husband, and dragged our family into this disaster. Feigning shock, I covered my mouth. Ran off. I thought she was divorced. My aunt began sobbing beside him. No, she wasn't. She snuck out on her own. I collapsed into the chair.
What?
Of course, I had known all along. The main hall erupted into chaos. Do you know how much we had to pull just to marry you into the royal merchant Wang family? Uncle shouted. Bai Tao discreetly handed over a feather duster, which my uncle snatched up and began lashing Su Xianglan with. She screamed and rolled on the ground, but uncle was truly furious this time. Their whole family worshipped wealth, and the Wang merchant house was obscenely rich. Even the emperor had to show them some respect. But like all powerful households, the Wang family's inner chambers hid more scandals than anyone could count. Su Xianglong had been ground down by the infighting and fled in exhaustion. I didn't want a corpse sullying my front hall, so I stepped in. Uncle, aunt, that's enough. We still have important matters to discuss. The two looked at each other, guilty now. Shu Bai, it's all Xianglong's fault. If you want to punish someone, punish her. We won't object. I looked down at Su Xianglong, bloody and beaten. She's now entangled with my husband and bore him a son. Since he wants to marry her, I have no choice but to look into her past, why she ran away, and whether the Wang family plans to press charges. If the royal merchants pursue the matter, not only can she not marry in, we'll all be dragged into a legal case. My aunt nearly fainted in fear, and Su Xianglong trembled like a fish gasping on dry land. I didn't run away. I was divorced. I swear I was. I turned to her. Where's the divorce letter? I have it. I'll find it right now. Find it? I laughed coldly. Forging a divorce letter is an even greater crime. Su Xianglong, are you looking to end up in jail or the execution basket? No, she paled, white as death. If you won't admit it, we'll just invite everyone involved to come speak for themselves. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared at the door. It was none other than Wang, the royal merchant.
Whore.
You dare run away, he roared when he saw Su Xianglong drawing his belt to beat her. I raised my hand, and the old matron beside me stepped forward to block him. Lord Wang, this is the capital. If someone dies here, it won't look good for you. Save your strength. What matters is getting everything out in the open. Just then, Xie Tang returned home. Su Xianglong clung to his official boots, sobbing hysterically. He was stunned at the sight of her bloodied body and rushed forward. Who hurt Xianglong? Wang's eyes bulged as he grabbed Xie Tang and began to pummel him. So, you're the bastard. The adulterer. Xie Tang, a bookish man, couldn't take a beating like that. He coughed up blood after a few punches. I'm an imperial censor, he cried. I advise the emperor, supervise all the ministers. I am trusted by His Majesty and even the princess. You strike me, you're doomed. I covered my smile with a handkerchief. I had already told the princess I wanted a divorce. She fully understood and promised to help. So she kept praising Xie Tang in court, putting in flattering words in front of the emperor, until he got so puffed up he forgot who he really was. Feigning concern, I ordered someone to fetch a physician. The fool even asked the doctor to tend to Su Xianglong first. Wang, uncle, and aunt could hardly stand the sight. Their fists were clenched tight. Su Xianglong whimpered in Xie Tang's arms. My love, you must stand up for me. Xie Tang's chest puffed up with righteous anger. I am a censor of the realm. Can I even make this kind of decision? Don't worry, I will marry you. Wang rolled his eyes. My uncle and aunt looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Suddenly, the physician's tiny eyes lit up. Congratulations, sir. This lady is expecting. I stayed composed. It didn't surprise me at all. Xie Tang, on the other hand, was overjoyed. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The Xie family had few heirs. If he could continue the line in his generation, it would be a mark of honor in the family register. So thrilled was he that he wiped his bloody nose and completely forgot Wang had just beat the stuffing out of him. Wang, seeing the metaphorical green hat firmly planted on his head, pointed at all of us and cursed. You filthy bastards. You think just because my family does business and not politics I'm easy prey? Just you wait. I will have my revenge. He stormed off, but I knew he'd be back, louder and meaner. Xie Tang spat in his direction.
Pa.
Just a damn merchant. He thinks he can challenge me? What a joke. I spoke softly. Si Tang. I pulled out the divorce papers I had long prepared. Let's get divorced. Xie Tang stared at me in disbelief. Divorce? Ji Shu Bai, do you realize I'm in the prime of my political career right now? Without me, how long do you think your Ji family can stay afloat? If you leave me, It'll be near impossible to remarry. Your only path forward is to cling tightly to me. That is the smart choice. No matter the era, men always think the same way. That women should cling to men for survival. It's a disgusting habit we let them get away with. If I hadn't pushed the princess to raise him up and watch him fall, he'd still be weeping at my feet begging for forgiveness. I remained calm and composed. Xie Tang, since His Majesty favors you so much, shouldn't you marry a woman you truly love? His lips twitched. He seemed to think I had a point. Sensing his hesitation, I immediately pressed harder. How the Ji family fares is none of your concern. You, on the other hand, conspired with my cousin and got her pregnant. She's also a runaway wife, which violates the law. If this gets out, it's not your face I'll be worried about, it's mine. Xie Tang was dumbstruck. Then he suddenly sneered. Well, Ji Shubai. So you look down on me now. When I married you, it felt less like I took a wife and more like I invited a goddess into my home. You refused intimacy, treated me coldly every day, and now you blame me for having a child with another woman? I brought honor to the family by producing a son. That's an achievement. And instead of helping me take concubines, you try to stop me at every turn. With a wife like you, I'm the one who should feel ashamed. He pounded his chest and stomped the floor, unleashing all the fury he had bottled up for so long. I lifted the divorce letter in my hand and said calmly, if you're so dissatisfied with me, why not just sign and be done with it? Xie Tang froze, trapped in his own pride, unable to back down now. Fine, let's divorce. Ji Shubai, don't come crying back later. He grabbed the document, pressed his fingerprint on it, and flung it in my face, shouting arrogantly, get out. For once, he actually managed to act like a man, in front of me at least. I pressed my fingerprint on the paper too, and turned to leave. Xie Tang sneered behind me. Ji Shubai, once you walk out of this house, don't even dream of coming back. I turned back with a smile. Take care of yourself. On the day of the divorce, I packed my things to return home. Bai Tao told me that Xie Tang and Su Xianglan were already discussing how to divide up my dowry. First, they'd make her a proper set of jewelry. Then, commission over 100 new outfits. Since she was pregnant, her figure would change. She'd need even more clothes. They were also eyeing my farmland and storefronts, calculating how much silver they could bring in each year. Just talking about it made them laugh out loud. They really thought it would go that easily. Naive. As if I'd leave them a single coin. Su Qianqian, heavily pregnant, came to me. Madam, once you're gone, what should I do? I told her simply, just keep using the medicine I gave you. As long as you do, Xie Tang won't be able to leave you. A moderate frequency won't do too much harm. Qianqian gritted her teeth and nodded.
Yes.
Even if I have to use my hands, my mouth, I'll keep him tied to me. I won't let that bitch Su Xianglan win. I blinked. You two really do play dirty. I took all my dowry and servants with me. They had followed me from the Ji household, and now they were going home with me again. I also took the princess's child. Neither Xie Tang nor Su Xianglan tried to stop me. They just looked at me with contempt.
Si Tan Skop.
Ji Shubai, that'll be the only child you ever raise. Go ahead and treat him like a treasure. Su Xianglan stroked her belly. Unlike you, I can conceive and give birth. You're doomed to die alone, unloved and pitiful. But the moment they saw me taking box after box of dowry out of the house, Su Xianglan exploded. Ji Shubai, you're a cast-off wife. What gives you the right to take Xie family property? I turned and gave her a frosty stare. All of this is my dowry and my servants. If you've got a problem, go have Xie Tang file a complaint with the emperor. I'm not scared. Su Xianglan lunged at me, still wanting to argue, but I couldn't be bothered with someone who was practically a walking corpse. She had the kitchen prepare extravagant meals every day, delicacies from land and sea. At every meal, she stuffed herself until she could barely breathe, then lay down to sleep, claiming it was to nourish the fetus. She'd already put on weight noticeably. What she didn't know was that danger was already quietly approaching. Back at the Ji residence, I placed the divorce letter on my father's desk. Father, your debt of gratitude is paid in full now. Xie Tang's behavior risks his own head. Our Ji family has done more than enough. We don't owe him anything. The Ji family doesn't belong to just you. It's a legacy built by our ancestors, maintained by Mother's decades of effort. You can't throw it all away for one man's so-called honor. I thought Father would blame me, but instead, he looked solemn and apologized. It was my mistake, Shu Bai. I was foolish. I was stunned. Is this really my father? My mother patted my hand comfortingly. That bastard Xie Tang's vile deeds. I told your father everything. I scolded him thoroughly. Now he realizes where he went wrong. Daughter, you're home now. Let's live well. Your happiness is what matters most. I returned to my room. Everything had been decorated exactly the way I liked. I couldn't have been more comfortable. Back when I'd first married into the Xie family, everything was a mess. The furniture was scattered randomly. The old maids couldn't do real chores and half-heartedly swept the courtyard. I never once complained. I rolled up my sleeves and organized everything myself. From the front hall to the back kitchen, I put everything in perfect order. But Xie Tang never said a word, not even a glance of acknowledgement. At first, I thought he was just the quiet type, that maybe he appreciated me silently. But I came to realize he wasn't quiet. He was simply blind. Blind to the filth in his home. Blind to the way it was cleaned up. He was never meant for married life. After a month back home, I had fully recovered, glowing with health and spirit. In addition to rest and recovery, I began managing a few shops. Mother said, even though society ranks scholars, farmers, artisans, and merchants separately, commerce can't be suppressed. The Su Xianglan. By then, Su Xianglan had grown grotesquely fat and could barely move, yet Wang made her kneel on her swollen belly to pour him wine. One evening, after drinking, Xie Tang finally worked up some courage and threw a punch at Wang. Wang didn't fight back. Not immediately. He let Xie Tang beat him until his face was bruised and beyond cover-up. Only then did he strike back, brutally, pummeling Xie Tang until he vomited blood. The matter was taken before the emperor. Both men filed complaints, each airing grievances, so loud it gave the emperor a headache. But in the end, Wang was still a fifth-rank official. Showing up to court with a battered face wasn't dignified. So the emperor penalized them both equally. 6 months of unpaid leave, suspended from duty pending investigation. The princess's maid brought me a letter detailing everything that had happened. At the end of it, she wrote lightly, when the snipe and clam fight, the fisherman profits. His Majesty said it was a clever scheme. The plan had been mine. The reward was the emperor's. Xie Tang, known for his sharp, upright advice as a censor, had once earned the support of many officials like him. The emperor had long disliked him and wanted to suppress his rise. Just then Wang appeared. Wang was a thorn in the emperor's side as well. Any man who held too much money became a risk. In Jiangnan, Wang had gained significant influence through trade. If he ever used that wealth to raise a private army and start a rebellion, it wouldn't be out of the question. Now, Wang had paid for his post and gotten suspended. The emperor laughed all night over it. One day, I was in the courtyard, playing with the princess's son on a wooden horse, when Bai Tao came running up in a panic. Su Xianglan is in labor. They've called in several doctors to the Xie residence. It looks like a difficult birth. I handed the baby to the wet nurse and went with Bai Tao to a tea house across the street from the Xie household. I had informants in place. As the sun sank lower in the sky, I waited. 3 hours later, the news came back. Su Xianglan had died in childbirth. My hand paused mid-tea. And the baby? The child suffocated. Couldn't make it out in time. I sighed and put down my cup. The child had been innocent, but born to a reckless, foolish mother. Overfed, oversized, and unable to be delivered. It was a tragedy that didn't have to happen. Not long after, wails echoed from the Xie residence. White mourning cloth hung at the gate. A maid from Su Qianqian's quarters came to Bai Tao, asking if I would pay respects. So my father and I went to offer condolences. When I saw Xia Tang again, he looked like a leaf in the wind, weak, frail, utterly broken. The Xia residence had returned to the same decaying state as when I first entered it, lifeless. Old women shuffled lazily through the courtyard, sweeping dry leaves. Dust covered every surface. Xia Tang stared at me, delighted. Shu Bai, if I said I regretted everything, would you give me another chance? I raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? He took 2 steps forward. I stepped 2 steps back. Shu Bai, come home, please? I know I was wrong. I can't live without you. Let's start over. I turned away with a cold laugh. Save it. His eyes turned red. He tried to grab my hand, but I quickly pulled away. Shu Bai, I'm sorry. I truly know I was wrong. You're my wife. You've always been. Without you, my life is empty. I shook my head. I didn't come here to argue. Where's Qianqian? Just then she stepped out slowly. I'm here. Her face was bruised. Clearly, he'd hit her. I pulled her aside. He hit you. Tears welled in her eyes. He's been taking it out on me ever since he got suspended. Xianglan died, the baby too, he's losing everything. Am I supposed to raise this child alone, begging in the streets? I said to her, don't worry, I'll take care of you. You entered this fight with Su Xianglan willingly, but I was the one who brought you into it in the first place. I don't care what happens to Xia Tang, but you and the child I'll protect. Su Qianqian sobbed and nodded. I mounted my horse. Behind me, Xia Tang stumbled after us. Shu Bai. I was wrong. People on the street began to stop and stare. He didn't care about their gawking. He cried loudly. Shu Bai, you're the one I love most. Please, just one more chance. Shu Bai, please look at me just once more. I spurred my horse and galloped away. 3 days later, Xia Tang tried to divorce Su Qianqian, citing the birth of a daughter, then showed up at my house asking for my hand again. Some people truly have no shame. My mother was so furious, she paced the room, shouting at my father. What are you waiting for? Go deal with him. Father was angry too. You think I didn't try? I just got back. He insisted on kneeling at our gate in repentance, refusing to leave. What do you want me to do? Beat him in the street. Bai Tao, come with me, I said, rising. Mother followed. Shu Bai, what are you doing? Don't go out there yourself. It'll harm your reputation. What do I need reputation for? I'm not marrying again. Bai Tao and I took a few servants and headed to the gate. Xia Tang was kneeling there, his face streaked with tears, looking like the world owed him something. Are you going to leave or not? I asked coldly.
No. He looked up at me.
Shu Bai, I was wrong.
Come home with me.
From now on, I'll only have you. Only you. Enough, I snapped, frowning. If you won't leave, don't blame me for what happens next. I waved my hand. The servants brought out chamber pots. The bystanders immediately scattered. Oh no, they're going to dump slop on him. Xia Tang's mouth twitched. His face turned a terrible shade. Shu Bai, you'd really do this to me? I began to count. 3, 2, 1. He shot up to his feet, face red with rage.
Fine.
I'm going, and at last he left. I told the gatekeeper, if you ever see him again, give him this. I pointed at the chamber pot. The gatekeeper nodded furiously. Understood, Miss Shu Bai. The next morning, beneath the dazzling sunrise, I boarded a boat bound for Jiangnan. I brought the princess's son with me. I wrote a letter to the princess, saying I wanted to take the child out to see the world. Whenever she wished to see him, I would bring him back to the capital immediately. The princess praised my decision as wise and also informed me of the investigation results regarding Xia Tang and Wang, the royal merchant. Wang hadn't formally divorced his wife, and Su Xianglan's escape had violated the laws of the court. By statute, she should have been caned 50 times and fined 30 taels of silver. But since she was already dead, the matter was dropped. As for Xia Tang, he, a court censor, had committed adultery with another man's wife, an even greater offense. Effective immediately, He was stripped of his title, exiled 3,000 miles away, and his family estate was confiscated. Wang, despite having struck someone, was viewed as the more aggrieved party and was demoted. He was sent back to Jiangnan to serve as a lowly ninth-rank official. I thought the outcome was already satisfying. I hadn't expected an even more shocking piece of news. I had just settled in Suzhou when a letter from my mother arrived. She told me that Xie Tang was dead. He died in Su Qianqian's bed. At the time of death, he lay in a puddle of his own semen. Immediately, I recalled the medicine the princess had given me. I'd passed it on to Su Qianqian so she could compete with Su Xianglan for Xie Tang's favor. But I hadn't expected her to still be using it, even after Xianglan had long since died. Too much of that medicine would hollow out a man completely. Add to that the emotional and physical toll he had suffered lately, it was no wonder he died. Bai Tao, hands on her hips, scoffed. Serves him right. He was already a beaten dog and still tried to divorce Qianqian just because she gave birth to a girl. What's wrong with girls anyway? They're sweet and soft, little darlings to their mothers. Sons? They're like leaky, worn-out pants. She made me laugh. Then she added, I bet Su Qianqian hated him to the bone by then. That's why she finished him off. He chased sons his whole life, and in the end, the Xie family line still ended. The first child Su Xianglan had wasn't even his, it was Wang's. Xie Tang was the only idiot who didn't know. I smacked Bai Tao lightly on the rear. All right, enough out of you. She rubbed her backside and asked, but if you want me to shut up, shouldn't you slap my mouth, not my butt? I burst out laughing, spraying tea from my mouth. Jiangnan was beautiful. The transportation was convenient, the environment pleasant. Scholars, poets, merchants, all liked to stay here. I opened my first inn in Suzhou and immediately wrote to my mother, asking her to send staff to help manage it. 2 months later, Su Qianqian arrived, newly widowed, dressed in red with her daughter in her arms and 10 strong men my mother had sent with her. As for the child of Su Xianglan and Wang, the boy was sent to an orphanage. 6 months later, I opened a second inn. The restaurants nearby were doing excellent business, so I invested in one of them too. Now that I had 2 children to raise, a boy and a girl, I needed to earn much, much more. The boy was born to the princess, the girl to Su Qianqian. Neither was my biological child, yet I loved them as if they were my own. 3 years later, my business had expanded all the way to the South Sea. I had been away from home for years, and the princess wrote, asking me to return to the capital with the boy for a visit. So I packed lavish gifts, boarded a boat, and headed north. As the new year approached, I returned home laden with treasures. The princess had moved into her own manor in the capital. I brought the child back to her, mother and son, reunited at last. I gifted the princess a box of exquisite South Sea pearls. She, in turn, arranged rewards for me. No sooner had I returned home than an imperial eunuch arrived with a decree. By His Majesty's edict, I was granted the title of County Princess of Lun, recognized as the princess's sworn sister, and granted imperial permission to conduct business throughout the empire. The emperor's decree was both praise and warning. He rewarded me for removing 2 thorns from his side, but also reminded me not to follow in their footsteps. There was no room for arrogance in his eyes. I gladly accepted the decree and sent the eunuch off with a hefty reward. 3 days later, I entered the palace to express my gratitude and presented the emperor with all the seafood I'd brought back from the South Sea. The emperor was delighted and promised me a reward. I didn't know what that reward would be and assumed he'd forgotten. But on New Year's Eve, as our family was gathered, ready to light fireworks, the emperor's eunuch arrived with several ornate food boxes. These, he declared, are special dishes from the imperial banquet, usually reserved for princes and lords, but today, the Ji family has been granted this honor. My father led the family in kneeling to express our thanks. I gave the eunuch a handful of gold-plated melon seeds, and he beamed so brightly his smile nearly reached his ears. Thank you, Princess of Lun. May you be forever prosperous and surrounded by wealth. Once the eunuch departed, we finally sat down to eat. Inside the boxes were not only an array of exquisite dishes, but also a hand-painted scroll by the emperor himself, titled, Harmony Brings Prosperity. Su Qianqian's daughter, Rongyan, clung to me, saying, Mommy, mommy, I want the roasted swan. I pulled her onto my lap. Rongyan, you know that swan? My mother pinched her chubby cheeks and laughed. You little glutton. Come, eat your swan. Outside, firecrackers snapped and popped. I smiled at the scroll titled Harmony Brings Prosperity. When a father is loving, a mother is at peace. When a mother is calm, the child is content. When the child is content, the home is harmonious. And when the home is harmonious, all things flourish. The end.